two,
two,
one.
one,
We'll
drink, drink,
drink
drink.
to Eric the
Eric,
King.
the king, the king,
King.
the king,
He's the
the
greatest.
greatest center forward
That the world has
ever
ever seen.
We have not chanted for quite some time, so we're a bit off. But I do have this chant that I've always loved. It's a simple one. It's you and I, United are the team for me with a knick-knack, paddywhack. Give a dog a bone. Why don't say take fuck up home? Hey!
Kembali lagi di Poros Halang kali ini bersama dengan the legendary Pete Boyle, live from Manchester.
Good morning, folks. Good morning. From sunny Manchester, might I add.
How is Manchester right now? It's still red.
Sunny. It's sunny. This is our summer. This 10 hours is the Manchester summer.
And Manchester still red, right?
Yeah, it's going to be very hot for at least 10 hours today. Yes.
No, he's asking you, is Manchester
still red?
Oh, it's always red. It's never not been red. It's not even 50-50. It's not, when people say on telly, or the red half and the blue half, it's never been it's always been at least 65% United. It's not just because we've got fans all over the world. People try and say, oh, United fans don't go for Manchester. There's been surveys on university, local newspaper, television, season ticket holders, and it all comes out, it always comes out well over half is red.
Even though the city make a big billboard with Tevez and welcome to Manchester, Manchester is still red, right?
Always red. Like I said, for years, because United are the biggest club and we've got fans everywhere, we're hated by the rest of the nation. And it was a cheap tactic. When City used to say United aren't from Manchester, it was a technicality about the fact that the ground was no longer in Manchester, technically. It's just on the boundaries. It's in Trafford, yeah? It's on the border of Salford, but it's in Trafford. So City used to say, you don't come from Manchester. And other fans of other clubs started saying, oh, that's because the fans don't come from Manchester. And it's just nonsense. We have always had fans from all over the world and all over England. And that's what I'm proud of, even at Mancunian, right? But everyone thought, oh, yeah, we'll see. City are the hardcore Manchester club. But it's been proven now, as they've got the success, with the best ever team in the whole history. They've got the biggest ground they've had for years. And they've got reduced prices. They've had cheap tickets. Even they had buy one, get free.
And still empty.
And they still can't fill it. Now, come on.
20,000 empty seats. Are you fucking sure?
Exactly. 20,000 empty seats, and they're building more. Why? So now what I'm saying is, it's like, if nothing else, it's been proven. I know hardcore, like Liverpool, Everton fans and Tottenham, and they, who've lived in Manchester, they all say, I don't like United. I used to wind United fans up, but Manchester's definitely red. They all know it, It's like, crazy to think that there'd be no United fans in the city where we're from, It's, you only have to look at, like, when you used to get to the cup final or win a trophy, for years in the 80s, United homecoming used to start in Altrincham, which is about a 12 mile ride. And like the treble did that as well. And they'd go all the way down the streets of Altrincham, and it'd be thousands of people lining the route virtually all along the way. And then in the city centre, you'd go right round and there'd be people everywhere. And then in the square, when the City did the parade, they do it round a little block, about 300 yards. You know what I mean? What you do? And it's, it goes beyond thinking, they twist it. What City are? The City have got a big PR company who's behind them. And, let's do this, let's do that. But most people in Manchester, get an honest City fan, they'll admit that they'll never be as big as United. There's a City forum called Blue Moon, right? And about 10 years ago, they had a topic, and it was, when you was at school or work, what was it like, red and blue? And as it went on, each page, the majority of people kept saying they were always outnumbered at school by United fans. They were the only City fan in the class. And after about 15 pages of this, somebody said, what if rival fans are reading this? They'll start realising that, you know, there's more United fans in Manchester, so we should take it down. So they removed it from the
backfired on them.
Seriously.
Okay, Pat.
Manchester is red, but apparently your walls are blue, though.
Yeah, that's a compromise. Yeah, I've got to do that. But to be fair, I did meet my wife at United games, so she's a United fan.
All right. But welcome, very much welcome to Pete Boyle. I hope this is like what, 10 o'clock UK time?
It's about quarter to 11 in the morning, yeah.
11. I hope you had a good breakfast. Not too early. So, everyone knows the great Pete Boyle is a great chanter. Especially, we've seen all your videos, you know, especially those on the Bishop Place, standing on the bar, you know, leading the chants. Me personally, I told you this over the chats and everything, and I'm just going to repeat it again. So it's official. I'm your biggest fan. and when we had this thing that the producer said, we want Pete Boyle on it, and I was like a schoolgirl, you know, like going on his first day. Like, oh, how am I dressed up? Should I learn my chants again? Stuff like that. But anyway, I would really like to know, Pete, what started it all? You know, I mean, did you just come to one of the game and started creating chants, or how did it all begin?
Well, it goes deeper than that, really. It's my first game I went to was only 4 years old. I don't remember much about it, but when I got to about 7, I started going to games, and in those days, the Stretford End was absolutely like, it was full of colour. It was like it was the 1970s, the adults used to wear denim jackets with all those patches sewn on, with all the things. And the football was good at the time. It just started to be good with Tommy Docherty. But I was watching the fans. I was sat at the front of the railings, and I used to be open-mouthed at the noise and the passion, the colour. The amount of songs we had, it was just like, you know, you could hear like about 15 different songs during the course of a game. And I was mesmerised by it. And then I just used to, you know, I loved the football. But Dad used to sometimes say, Peter, watch the game. And I'm going, because I'd be turning around, watching, you know, and hearing the bad language. So I was fascinated by it. And then when I was about 8 years old, I did a poem about football. And I don't know where I got the knack, the talent, whatever for it, but because my parents weren't sort of creative in that way. And I just realised I could rhyme things together, really. I could rhyme poems and words. And then I started, and I think what helped me, when I got to my teens, I looked a couple of years older than I was. Because in those days, when I was in the ground, if I was 12, 13, a 12, 13-year-old singing in a terrace, people would just sort of laugh at the little kid, you know. Yeah. But I probably was a couple of years older. So I just started singing songs of the day, like established songs. And if people did join in, I didn't get embarrassed. Now, what you've got to understand is, I sing grown men up 20 years older than me, and they'd stand up and try and sing United. And if nobody joined in, they went, oh my God. And they were like, help swallow me up, Will. Where when I did it, if no one joined in, I don't get embarrassed. I just used to go, come on. So yeah. And then I realised when I was in my late teens that I could hold a crowd. I knew I could stand up, and I didn't get embarrassed. I know. I think part of it's because I probably always wanted to be a singer in a band or maybe a footballer. So to me, the next best thing was singing United songs and getting everyone going. And I realised in the early 90s, I remember in those days it was hard to. You couldn't really. A recording studio was a recording studio. You couldn't record it like this now at home. You couldn't just go into your bedroom and record stuff. So I'd realised I used to write a lot of songs in the bath. And that's why my first album was called Songs from the Bathtub. You know, we sing.
Yeah.
And I used to shout to like my girlfriend at the time, quick. She'd run up, what's the matter? Write this down. And I'd have an idea. And I realised we had a lot of songs about players from like the 70s and 80s, but we didn't really have a lot of good songs about the emerging team under Fergie with Lee Sharp and players like that. So I started writing songs, and then I said, I'm going to record an album. And everyone thought, what's he on about? So I rang around recording studios, and they were very expensive. And I finally got one. But the only way I could afford it was by going on a Tuesday night, about 11 o'clock at night, to this studio. And I said to my friends, do you want to come to the studio to record some United songs? And okay. So we took a few beers down, and we're in the studio. And the studio guy had never seen anything like it. He was used to bands thinking they were the next big thing, who would spend 5 hours on one song and then say, no, it doesn't sound right. And we got down there with a drunken accordion player, like an accordion instrument. And we were just going through, and we were coughing. And we would go, and he listened to it, and he'd play it back, and he was going, oh. And I said, that sounds perfect. And he was going, what? And I wanted it to be raw. I wanted it to be like the fans, proper fans. Anyway, I recorded that album, Songs from the Bathtub, United We Sing, and it became a real cult classic. And Jim White, the United fan, who's an author, who writes for United We Stand, for Andy Mitten and that as well. And Jim White covered it in his book, Are You Watching Liverpool? And he said he bought one. And he said it was foul-mouthed, tone-deaf, full of juvenile spleen. And he said, I loved it. And Terry Hall, who's a singer of a famous English band called The Specials, a two-tone scar, he's a big United fan. And about 20 years ago, there was an article in an English newspaper interviewing loads of pop stars, past and present, and their 10 favourite albums of all time. He interviewed people from the Spice Girls and people from all sorts of bands. And Terry Hall chose 10 albums, and number 7 in the album, and David Essex and David Bowie was in his top 10, but number 7 was Pete Boyle, Songs from the Bathtub. That was quite established, yeah. And then I just realised, I mean, to get to your question, I mean, I realised I could hold a crowd, and then after that album did so well in terms of critical reviews, I used to sell them around the pub in a bin bag with my cassettes, and I just started getting renowned of doing songs and more publicity through the fanzines. And then I got approached by a company who were doing a proper official video for United on Cantona, and they asked me to want to go on it, and I sung the song Out of the King with all the verses, and that propelled it a bit more. And then other things followed, really. So I created my own niche. I mean, I'm not the first person to write songs, but I was the first person to take it to a level like that, yeah. I was the first person to release songs from the fans. I mean, people had released songs in a studio without the swearing and made it a little, you had the cup final songs, but I released songs that were raw, that they were the fans' songs from the pub. So, and then in the end, I carried on releasing tapes, and then until I released CDs and more CDs, and you can download some of my songs now because I'm modern with the times,
Okay, Pete. The chant for Brian Kidd, Eusebio Kido Kido, it was you who made it, right?
For which song? For who? Sorry.
Eusebio Kido Kido.
Kiddo. No, I mean I might look old.
Brian Kidd.
That song was actually
although from the Beatles. Hello, goodbye.
You say me, oh, and I say kiddo.
It was you who made it, right?
Well, unfortunately not, because that song came out in 1968, and I was born in 1970. So as good as I am, right?
Okay. I thought it was you because it's a bit ironically how a song from the Beatles, who came from Liverpool, then the song adapted to the United Chant. It's a bit ironically, right?
Well, there's a great point there. I'll tell you why. Because we've also sung We All Live in a Georgie Best World.
Yes.
And we also sang There's Only One Kino, La 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 Kino.
La La La, yeah.
Right? But in 2003, I was in a pub in London before we played Charlton Athletic away.
Okay.
And I had done a really good song for John O'Shea. I'd done a couple of good songs for John O'Shea. But this one was to the tune of Yesterday by the Beatles, also by the Beatles, And I was singing John O'Shea, all our troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in John O'Shea. Suddenly, someone else to play with. Wesley, Rio, David, and oh, Larry. Oh, I believe
in John O'Shea.
But at the time, I was in this pub in London, and there was a United fan, my age or older, and he was irate, and he was shouting at me, "You can't sing that. You can't sing that. It's a Scouse song. It's the Beatles." And I went, whoa. I said, Ryan Kidd. I said, Kino, George Best. They're all by the Beatles as well. Are you mad? And he was like, "Ooh." He was like that. Anyway, as it happened, I did another song for John O'Shea, which became very famous, when Johnny goes marching down
the way.
And that song is actually, I've got a good story about that song, because it was around September 2002, and I was in the Bishop's Blaze, and I just made the song up, and I started singing it, and there was about 100 people in the pub, and people didn't know it, so people were just like laughing, and I said, and I persevered, and I carried on, and then that season we won the league. We got the league back from Arsenal.
Yeah.
And we played Charlton Athletic near the end of the season to virtually win the league, and we won 4-1 against Charlton. And there was a break in play. There was a break in the play, and for about 20 minutes, the crowd had been singing the whole John O'Shea song, all 4 sides of the ground, even the South Stand was running as well. And Nicky Butler, I went to John O'Shea when there was a break in play, like, "This is your song," like, and I felt really like vindicated, because I thought that song started off with like me singing in a pub with 100 people in August, September, and now the whole ground was singing it. It became such an anthem, and and John O'Shea himself used to love it, and I've met John a few times, and he loved the song. But sometimes songs you can try too hard. There's been some great songs that haven't taken off, and you can try too hard. You can, like, that same time at Charlton away, the same pub when I was singing the John O'Shea song. I'd gone to make a song up about Ollie, and it was to the tune of and this was the song I was trying to get going. Ole, 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 gonna Solskjaer. But all my friends kept winding me up, and they were going, when I got to the ole, they were going, Nicky but, Nicky but. So in the end, it didn't take off.
Okay.
But in the pub that day, it was the week after we beat Liverpool in the FA Cup last minute. So I just, top of my head, I went, "Who put the ball in Scouse's net?
Who put the ball?" It
was originally about Scousers, and then a few months later we changed it to Germans, obviously. Sometimes a song can just happen like that.
Oh, I love that song, by the way. "Who put the ball in the Scousers net?" What about that song? The Ole Gunnar Solskjaer song also. "Please don't take my Solskjaer away."
Like I said, I've written that again. That song I helped popularise, but it's not my song. If I know who sung it, I'll give them credit if it's original. My mate Fergus from Manchester was singing it to me in Porto in '97 away, and I helped get it going in the square. Now, to me, I've written hundreds of chants, famous ones about Gary Neville, about Cantona, about John O'Shea, etc. Written a lot, But if someone does a good song and it's original, I'll help them get it going. I don't mind who sings it, right? And the Soul Show one was great because it was original, yeah. What I don't like is when we copy songs of other teams, yeah. If teams want to copy Man United, that's okay, but it's just like you know, the amount of times when people nowadays they try it, they say I've got this great song, and I go, well, they sing that and they sing that, and then people go, oh, it's just because you didn't make it. I said, nothing to do with that. But I don't want to copy what Leicester City or West Ham or Crystal Palace are singing. If they copy us, okay, yeah. But even more so, like, you know, people were trying to copy the song that Liverpool was singing a couple of years ago, the old, you know, I mean, they copied that off lots of European teams. It wasn't theirs originally. But, you know, but once they'd sing it, you know, you don't copy it, you don't sing it to them, like, you know. People were trying to copy the song that Liverpool sang for Suarez a few years ago to Depeche Mode. And some United, you know, when we sang Racist about Suarez, that was okay. But other people were trying to sing it for Marcus Rashford, and I'm thinking, why would you sing a song about a United player that your biggest rivals have sung, to a horrible racist, right? Yeah. Why would you do it? And that's all I'm saying. It's not about me writing the song. That is just such a cheap, lazy jive. If a song is original, no matter who's made it up, and I will try and get it going. People send me ideas. And when I've released my cassettes and my CDs, each time is about 45 songs on it. Over half of them I've written them. But if they're not my songs and I know whose they are, I credit the people all the time. I say, that guy. And I just think that there's always some songs, but what we call the word is generic, which means like, or when the Reds go marching, or when the Blues, or when the Saints, right? That's what other teams sing. There's songs like, we love United, we love you Villa, we love you City, we love you. They've always been sung, right? Songs like, we shall not be moved, we're going to win the league. We had sung that for a few years, but you know what I mean?
We haven't sung that for a while.
But there's always those songs. They're called generic songs. But it's good to have your own identity as well, yeah?
Yeah.
And that's what we've always had for years. We had that. We had the identity before I started singing song. We've had it, but there's a danger in recent times of us happy to just. I hate when people say it doesn't matter what we sing as long as we're singing. That is just ridiculous. So if we start singing, you know, every song to You'll Never Walk Alone and Blue Moon, and sing one to Marching On Together, like to lead, you know. It's one thing singing a song mocking them teams to their tune now and again, but you don't copy. You know, you try and be creative, and I should get over it and just move on. But like my hatred of fan cards, my hatred of copying songs, it's a passion to me. I've invested a lot of time into writing chants and getting the atmosphere going, and now I think it's good that, like, you know, you've heard of the TRA, the Red Army, at Old Trafford, and the atmosphere is getting better and better, and it's going to be brilliant when we go back. And a lot of the time, a lot of the people behind it, they are making original chants. They know there's a couple of chants which I cringe at, but you can't have it perfect, right? You know, it's just, you know, I just feel passionately that we should sing mostly original songs.
Yeah. That Ole Gunnar Solskjaer song, though, is now, you know, especially for people who supports Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, like me and Fuad, is actually very meaningful now, because it's exactly what we want to say. Please don't take our Solskjaer away.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it was very apt at the time, because, you know, we didn't know who Ollie was when we signed him. We didn't honestly know who he was. It was football even back then. It wasn't like now where everyone's an expert because they can watch every league in the land, yeah. Ollie and Ronnie Johnson were just like, who are these guys? And Ollie came in and he scored at his debut, and he scored quite early on a lot, but no one really knew much about him. You know, at the time, there was more interest in Jordi Cruyff because Jordi Cruyff's dad. So when Jordi Cruyff signed with Ollie, everyone's thinking, can't even say his name, who's that? He looks about 12, right? And it soon became that he had the right attitude. And, you know, don't get me wrong, when we appointed Ollie as manager, if you were being honest, I wouldn't have, if I was in charge, I wouldn't have appointed Ollie. I thought we would have needed someone more proven. But once he got the job, you know, first of all, I always support a manager, whether it's Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, I support the manager.
Yeah.
However, we thought it was a stopgap thing. I think that Ollie's mistake was going to Cardiff, not because you can say he failed there, but it was a bad choice of club. He was linked with going to West Brom and Villa, two clubs, although with proper traditions, proper good old clubs. And he went to Cardiff. It was a strange decision. He was always going on a hide into nothing, as the English saying is. It's a bit like Gary Neville going to Valencia. Valencia are a big club in Spain, probably about the third, fourth biggest club. I mean, you know, that's like going in England and taking on the Everton job or something, or the Leeds job. It's a big job for your first job, right? Take into consideration the language barrier. That was ridiculous of going on. I know why he went there, because of his mate who runs all these businesses, you know. But Ollie going to Cardiff was a strange one. He'd done well in Norway. He'd done well with United Reserves. It's not the same and all that. But I think that, you know, he's had to prove himself more, because people keep saying, look what he did to Cardiff. He got relegated. Cardiff were going down anyway. You know what I mean? They were going to get relegated anyway. I think that once he got the job, I think that, you know, for people who say we haven't progressed, you know, I think it's nonsense. I think the way some of the players he's had to get rid of, he's had to bring players through. He's got the basis of a good team there. However, it remains to be seen whether Ollie can take us to the next level. I don't know whether he can. I want him to. I think he's completely dedicated. He's a legend. Being a legend shouldn't get you a job. Of course it shouldn't, you know. Yeah. Robson, King, you know, probably couldn't be a United manager as much as I love them. Or Eric, yeah. It wouldn't last. It would end in tears. It partly, you don't want it. You know, you don't want that legend to become the manager, because if it does end in tears, I mean, Liverpool might say they love Dalglish, but twice he said, right? Yeah. But Ollie's doing a good job. However, it's, you know, this summer is going to be a big thing now. You know, we've progressed. We're behind City in the league, but we're well behind them in truth. We might beat them. We've got took 4 points off them in the league, but we're behind them. And City look like they're going to invest. They're probably going to get Haaland, let's be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
And City are moving away. I mean, it's a similar situation to when Alan Shearer joined Newcastle in that summer of '96. Yeah. Kevin Keegan actually said at the time to the Newcastle board, if Man United get Alan Shearer, it's over. It's over. And so Newcastle pulled out the stops to get Shearer. You know, it'd be nice to think that United could get Haaland, because I think he would be brilliant at United. Ollie's got a great relationship with him, but we know that deep down his dad wasn't really like United for lots of reasons.
No, I'm sorry to say.
His Leeds, Roy Keane, and
Roy Keane.
City. So out of the church, I think he'd probably go to Leeds. I think if Leeds could afford it, Leeds would challenge him. He'd go there.
Sure. I mean, like yesterday, I don't give a fuck if I never do business with Man United anymore.
Exactly. And the point is if the rumours coming out now about what we're going to spend, what we've got to spend, then it won't be Ollie's fault. But Ollie's, I don't know what some fans expect Ollie to do. Ollie's got the job. Ollie's not going to come out and say, I hate the owners, is he? I mean, you know, he's been employed by them, right? So I just think that he can't really win, Ollie, because he's employed. It's his dream job. Yes. When Phil Neville got offered the assistant, the coaching role at United, he told me that his brother Gary had said to him, "Don't take it." Phil knew that, Phil knew that he might never get the chance to have a job at United like that again, right? So why wouldn't you not take it? Why would you turn it down? Why would David Moyes turn it down? With the greatest respect, he wasn't the right choice.
Exactly.
Can you blame David Moyes for not turning it down? And I think Ollie, if United don't get the investment in the summer, he can only, with the current squad, and we can improve a little bit more each season. But if other teams are spending more and getting better players, they're going to pull away from us, and that causes resentment. And Ollie's going to be seen as the fall guy by the owners and by the fans. And I hope I'm wrong, but all I see happening each time is when people say we need a new manager, it's like manager falls out with board. They say we need a new manager, we need investment. The board get rid of the manager, and that keeps the fans satisfied for the short term. And then the manager comes in and he buys a couple of players, and then everyone thinks, here we go again. Yeah. And then 2 years down the line, same thing's going to happen again and again.
Starts all over again.
Yeah.
Pete, do you still remember what was the first chant that you made? It's hard because you're getting older.
Yeah. There was probably a couple of other Ryan Giggs ones. Like, how does Ryan Giggs do it? What? There was a famous advert in the TV in the late 80s for a car garage, and it was a famous advert, and it was, how does do it all do it? What they do it for? Won't somebody tell? And I changed it to, how does Ryan Giggs do it? What he does it for? Won't somebody tell? If only we knew it. How Ryan Giggs did it. You can bet we'll be doing it as well. La, 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 la.
What year?
That was probably about 1991, 92, I think, when I read that one.
Okay.
One of the songs I was most proud of early on was a song for Lee Sharp. And it was, and what I remember, I got invited to a party. Before David Beckham mania and all that.
Yeah, Lee Sharp.
Lee Sharp had a big party in Manchester, and it was on a Sunday about 1993, maybe 94, and we got invited to it. And Keith Fane, who was the stadium announcer before Alan Keegan, he was in charge of Lee Sharp's fan club. And there was about 3,000 people in a Manchester nightclub. And it was basically young girls. They were not even all United fans. They were young girls who had travelled on coaches from all over the UK just to be a part of the Lee Sharp fan club, right? And he had all these boy bands on, but not boy bands who were famous, like wannabe boy bands, right? And they were getting on stage doing all like Take That or Boyzone. They were basically for kids, yeah. They weren't very good. They were singing, and the crowd was just like this. They had no reaction at all. And then Lee Sharp's brother, John, who used to play for City like reserves or something, he kept saying to Keith Fane, get Pete on to do his song, right? So I got on stage, and he went, and he said, this guy's got a song about Lee. And I started off, and I did the action like, dance, dance, wherever he may be. He's the young kid from Torquay, and he soon settled in. He soon made his mark. He is the boy that we call Lee Sharp. And then I did each different verses. But when I got to the second time to do the chorus, I looked up, and as I went like this, dance, the crowd were all doing it. Dance, dance. And I was like, and then they were like, and each time I mentioned another player like Giggs or Roy Keane, because they were mentioning the song, they all cheered. And it was like, and that was one of the earliest times I thought it was like being in a band, because by the time I got to the second time I did the chorus, it was about 4 verses. The whole place was just rocking like a concert, yeah? We all knew it. And at the end, he was like, Lee Sharp coming. I thought, thanks, Pete. And everyone was like, and Keith was like, Keith Fane was thinking, he'd got about 4 boy bands on and no reaction. And I got on and did one song, and it had the whole place bouncing, right? And everyone was applauding me. And I think going home that day was one of the first autographs I signed. I was walking through Manchester. Can we have your autograph? I said, yeah, okay, no problem. You
Instant famous, huh? Well, I'm not surprised actually, Pete, because here in Indonesia we have this this group that like help organize, including some of the people that you may know, would help some of the fans of Manchester United go to England, go to Old Trafford, and watch the game at Old Trafford. But one of the places that they always want to go to was Bishop Place, because they want to see Pete Boyle sing. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the people who are in the Bishop Place are fans who can no longer enter the ground. Is this correct?
No, well, no. I mean, the Bishop's Place was a real, like United support, it was a real cross-section of people. You did have some country league, you had some Mancunians, some locals, but you had fans from all over England and you had fans from all over the world. You had people from Norway, Indonesia, Ireland, you name it. People that come up to me from Australia, from America, they come up to me. It became like a bit of a mecca for fans. Some people didn't go into the game, but most people came to savour the atmosphere before the game and have a real sing-song before we went to the game. And sadly, a few years ago, it was often a better atmosphere in the pub than it was in the ground. However, that's changing now for the good, because the atmosphere is getting better and better at Old Trafford, But really, it was a cross-section of support, and those days are really unrivaled, really. I've had so many good memories at Bishop's Place, and I can't wait for the pub to be open again, really.
I bet you can't.
Okay,
I'll see you setting up on the bar again.
Pete, it's not about football, but which one do you prefer, Stone Roses or Radiohead?
It's difficult because the Stone Roses are Mancunian, and I know a few of the people in the band. I know like Manny really well, as a mate of mine who's a guitarist. I know Ian Brown is a good lad. We keep in touch with each other. The Roses were my youth when I was like, the Roses kept emerging to Manchester scene when I was 17, 18. They were making it big. They started to make it when I was about 19. But Radiohead as a band of a more experimental, they're more diverse. And one of the, I do know members of Radiohead because Ed, the guitarist, is a big United fan. He moved to Manchester when he was at university, and he's become a friend of mine. And he came to my wedding and all that. And whenever Radiohead play, I go and see him. Like I've seen Radiohead play in Holland, in Spain, in Scotland, in Manchester so many times. I've been on the tour bus. I love the Stone Roses. The Stone Roses will always have a big part of my heart, but Radiohead have had a bigger part in my life.
So you choose Radiohead?
Yeah, Radiohead, I'm afraid,
I'm a big fan of Radiohead. I watched them in Japan 2016 in Summer Sonic. I really, really enjoy it. They're a big band. Radiohead,
they're a massive band, but they push the boundaries out where somebody like Oasis, they've done some good songs, it's pretty much like, it doesn't really veer, experiment and go different. He's only got so many chords he can play. Radiohead have released some stuff and I've gone, don't know about that, but they do it, they try. Now, I've always said that if John Lennon, the Beatles, were still alive, he wouldn't be doing songs like Noel Gallagher. He'd be doing songs like hip hop. He'd be doing grime. He'd be doing all sorts of stuff that people wouldn't like, but he'd be doing something different, wouldn't it? And that's what Radiohead do.
So, as a big fan of Radiohead, what is your favorite song from them?
It's probably
Karma Police.
I do love that song. It means a lot to I'm a little boy like that. It's probably the actual title track of the second album, The Bends. The actual title track, The Bends, or from OK Computer, there's a song called Exit Music.
Exit Music.
And that to me is just such a gem. But they've done so many different. They've done so many great. I did a compilation on Spotify of Radiohead songs, and it's about 40 songs. So it shows you how much songs I like right now.
I'm not a big music fan, but the producer just sent out a question. I don't know if you read it. Rennie, the drummer of Radiohead, is he close to you because he's a City fan? Apparently.
He's remember the Stone Roses, yeah. He's the only City fan in the band, yeah.
Are you close with it?
He's a good drummer, but he's a City fan. But that just shows you how Manchester is red because the best band there, 3 out of the 4 of them are United fans, aren't they?
That's the standard there, isn't it?
And not many people know, to be fair, not many people know that in Oasis, one of Oasis was actually a United fan, but he just had to keep quiet, you know what I mean? Boner from Oasis is a big United fan.
Really?
Yeah, the rest of them are City fans. They grew up on the wrong side, yeah.
I'm going to bring you back to the football now, okay? Because I don't understand music. So, with the situation
Can we just pause it 1 second?
Sure.
Pause 1 second.
Jadi, Bang Fuad tadi nanya-nanyanya itu tentang musik. Gue nggak ngerti, makanya gue pengen balikin lagi ke MU-nya aja.
Bosan bola mulu. Ini mau berapa lama lagi nih kita? 10 minutes?
10 minutes lah ya. Tapi
ya,
basically gue cukup salut sih ya. Maksudnya dia sangat terbuka dengan semua cerita-cerita. Gue jujur aja gue baru tahu bahwa John O'Shea itu ternyata dia yang buat yang When Johnny Go Marching Down the Wing. Yeah. Gila itu dulu kalau gue nobar itu emang itu lagu yang salah satu yang paling sering dinyanyiin sama He's Big, He's Bad, He's Wesley Brown. Yeah. Sekarang tuh diubah jadi siapa gitu, gue lupa. Tapi this is amazing, man. Kita mendengarkan langsung cerita-cerita bagaimana dia menciptakan lagu-lagu Chant-nya tersebut.
Dan kalian mendengarkan langsung gimana Manchester itu merah, Jenderal.
Merah.
Bukan biru. Ya,
tadi
paham
kan
ya?
Dia ngasih contohnya sesimpel, lo lihat aja, stadion kita 75.000 selalu penuh. Stadion mereka sekarang ini, apalagi di masa suksesnya ini, 20.000 tetap kosong, katanya. Mereka pengen bikin besar lagi, makanya.
Siapa yang mau ngisi? Jin, anak setan.
Sorry, lads, my mom's coming out of hospital today. I was just checking. I've got another call. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. So, Pete, about these chants that some of these chants that United sing, some of the chants that you make, they're using nursery rhymes. Some of the Poros Halang subscribers they sent out questions to us and they want to know why these chants are using nursery rhymes.
Well, in England, football chants traditionally have been the best ones to do are hymns, even though I'm not religious myself, but hymns are very good. Or nursery rhymes can be good because they're original. And pop songs can generally be good to an extent, but I think it's just because nursery rhymes and hymns are so adaptable because they are so universal. Because the amount of people who know words to nursery rhyme. For example, this has never been a chant that's taken off in the ground, fortunately, but when children in England, when they learn to sing a football song, right, when they're about 6 or 7, one of the most common songs is United win, City in the bin. It's ridiculous, right? Or City win, United in the bin. And it's just a thing they say over and over again. And it's just a common concept what they do. We've hit a lot of songs like the Johnny Goes Marching one I told you before, or Hello, We Are the Busby Boys. Song. A lot of those songs were made from American Civil War songs.
Really?
And like the songs like We're on the March of Fergie's Army, them sort of tunes, yeah. Who's that team? They call they're all come from American Civil War songs. But going back to your question, I think nursery rhymes are just more generic and universal, easy to adapt. So sometimes people say, I know you like the song and I do, but UNITED, people say, okay, it's a kid's nursery song, but so what? as I said to you before, I'm not religious, but I've done quite a few songs to hymns because they are very, like there's one song, if you YouTube it, it comes up. It's a song called Colours of Red. It's a song of mine. Thomas has done a video to it, like for me on YouTube. Colours of red, of white and of black. United went down, United came back. We'll fight for our club. We'll live till we'll die because Manchester United will never die. And that song is a hymn called Colours of Day. And I used to love it as a kid because when I was at school, we used to sing it. And it was colours of, it's all about Jesus. I don't believe in himself, but I just like to adapt it. What a friend we have in Jesus. He's a saviour from our family.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most famous original ones is the tune of in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. When your team was winning, the team used to go 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. And we also sang that for Norman Whiteside. We just used to sing Norman, Norman, Norman.
Yeah.
So I think that's why. I think the thing is that before the internet, if you try and do a song to a pop song, even when my first couple of albums came out, some songs which I'd done, the Stone Roses weren't big around the world like Radiohead or U2. The Stone Roses originally were only big like in the 90s, in the late 80s. The Stone Roses could play to 2,000 people in Manchester, and then 2 days later in London, they'd play to like 50 people. That's how it was, right? And there's bands like that. So when you did, if I did songs by these bands in the early 90s, if I did a song to a tune like that, not a lot of people would know it. So if I went into the pub and said, "What's this song?" and they go, "Who's it? Never heard of him." You couldn't just YouTube it like you can do now. It's a lot easier now. People can just think. People can do a song. Oops, sorry. People can do a song to anything, and because you can just look it up straight away, can't you? You can look up the title. So I think that's why we sing songs to things that are traditionally to hymns and to nursery rhymes.
There's one particular one that I like. He's no longer with the club now, but you know, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he is the sweetest hero. Came from PSG. I love that one. So
I've got one. Originally, that was about David Beckham, and I remember once, just after we won the treble, I was at I was doing some work for MUTV, and I was at United's the first training session after the treble next season, and I've got it on video somewhere. And Steve McLaren was the United assistant manager. And he came over and went, I'd never met him, but and as I was the MUTV were filming the training and filming me being at the session. And the United players and Gary Neville went, "Give us the Beck song, give us the Beck song, Pete, give us the Beck song." And I'm like, "Ah." And so then Steve McLaren goes, "Give us this song and give us this song, Pete." So I didn't know Steve McLaren. So I sang the song, and this was the song to the same tune. It was David Beckham went to France as a national hero, got sent off, he came out, hero. England fans are fucking twats, they get so excited. Stick your England up your ass because we are Man United. And we were laughing. Man United. And Steve McLaren was laughing, right? And I thought, imagine if I would have posted that on YouTube when he was England manager, when he was getting loads of stick.
We'd be singing that song today.
I never did it, but I thought, God, I could have done that. I could have caused controversy there, couldn't I?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be the people who watch Poros Halang are going to start singing that when they go watch the game now, because this is exclusively the first time that people hear it in YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was a good song. It's what I'm saying about songs is right. There's nothing wrong with recycling chants by your own club. Like, for example, you could sing something that you sung in the 60s, you could sing it for someone now, or you could sing something. But we used to recycle songs maybe every 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
There was a stage where we sang we've got Willie, 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 Willie Morgan on the wing, Willie, Willie, and then we sang Stevie, Stevie Coppell, and then a few years later, we sang Jesper Olsen. So that's a bit of a different generation, right? But the trouble is now is too many fans, United fans included, they want to copy songs from last season sometimes for another player for this season. Like you have the stage where we had like Wes Brown, the Wes Brown song, he's big, he's bad, he's Wesley.
Yeah, they've got that for another player now.
Well, yeah, for David De Gea, people were trying to sing it. And then people were trying to sing songs for, we had one for Anderson, Anderson. And people were trying to sing it for Anderson. And I just thought, sometimes you need to leave it, Sing, you don't sing ones in the same generation. You sing it when, if like, you could maybe sing the Zlatan song, which was the Beckham song. You could maybe sing that now for another player or in a couple of years. But too many people now, too keen just to copy songs too quickly. You wouldn't?
Yeah. Agree. Okay, Pete, among all of those chants that you have created, what is your favorite?
The favorite it's probably got to be Eric the King because of the significance of people still singing it now. And when you get to the stage where 2 years ago, when I was in Norway with Eric and his two brothers, and we did an event, and I interviewed Eric on stage several times, and just me and Eric on stage talking about his career. And there's 300 people in this room, and at the end of the night, they all started singing KATA songs, and then I got on the mic and did Eric the King. So to be in the room and have Eric and his two brothers clapping along, drink and all that, it was quite significant. It was quite, doesn't really get much better than that, does it? To have I've been very lucky to to been in Eric's company quite a few times down the years, but that was probably the peak of everything. It probably won't get better than that unless we do it again, and we're hoping to take him back to Norway next year as well, to the same place. That's probably my favourite. That's probably my favourite one in lots of ways, but there's also a song which was on one of the tapes in 1994, Battle Revisited, called Whenever I See Man United Play, and I redid it a few years later, and there's a video on YouTube of that. And basically it's about it covers my growing up watching United, because it's the chorus, the first verse and the last verse is the same, and it's to the tune of Dirty Old Town, which is a famous song based on Salford near Manchester, and it's first saw the Reds in days long gone by, team was grand and the fans, oh my, so proud back then as I am today, whenever I see Man United play. And then each verse talks about me growing up to United, but the end line of each verse is whenever I see Man United play. And it goes on about different eras up to about, it starts in the 70s and goes up to like about 1994, and the end line of each verse is whenever I see Man United play. And about 5 years ago, the chorus was starting to take off in the ground, but then like it all moved, and it's never become a hit like it should. And to me, it's probably my favourite, probably up there, one of my favourite songs I've written.
All right. Thank you. Who is your favorite captain?
Yeah.
Of all time.
My favorite what?
Captain.
Oh, captain of all time. Your Man United captain of all time.
That is really difficult because I've been very, very spoiled. I mean, Martin Buchan.
When did you start watching Man United anyway?
1974 was my first game, and the captain in that cup winning team, my first time at Wembley, when we stopped Liverpool doing the treble, which we did, was Martin Buchan. He was a Scottish centre half, proper leader. He was they used to say he was the coolest player. He looked really cool. His hair looked nice. He was very good, dead tall and lean. And Martin Buchan was my first captain. And then Brian Robson became the captain. Ray Wilkins was captain for a little bit. He was good. But Brian Robson was the ultimate Captain Marvel. He was, everything about him was brilliant. And then we had
Cantona.
Steve Bruce. Bruce was a great captain. He was a leader. He really was a great leader. And we had Cantona and we had Keane.
Neville.
It's hard, really. I mean, I would say that I love Eric, but it's hard push between. I think Robson was the ultimate captain. Keane was brilliant, but Robson was the ultimate captain. Robson was like, when people try and say what he was like, there was no player like him since. Keane was brilliant, but Keane was a brilliant leader. Keane was a great captain, but Keane played overall with better players, yeah?
Yeah.
Robson didn't play with rubbish players, but he didn't have as many good players around him. And put it this way, if Brian Robson wasn't playing, United really, really struggled. And I remember once he was so committed that he'd get injured a lot.
Yeah.
I remember once when his shoulder collapsed at West Ham and he got injured. And you know what? I'm not trying to be dramatic, but it was almost like a death. Because when Robson got injured, you just went, oh, no. It wasn't like we've got a good squad. You didn't have squads in those days. When Robson was injured, it was almost like saying, with no disrespect to the other players, it was almost like playing with a man down, even if like you had a substitute, because Brian Robson was that good. So I think Brian Robson was my ultimate captain.
Okay. Thank you for your information.
But come to think about it, Pete, we don't really have any homegrown captain, do we? Except for Gary Neville. Most of our captains were players that we bought.
Mercenary.
Who?
Who did you say?
Mercenary. Mercenary.
Yeah, mercenary. Yeah, he said mercenaries. I mean, players that we bought. I mean, King, we took him from Forest. Robo wasn't from the academy. Neither was.
Martin Buchan came from Aberdeen, and Ray Wilkins we got from Chelsea. Robson from West Brom.
Yep.
Keane from Forest. Yeah. Steve Bruce from Norwich. Yeah.
Norwich. Yeah.
So yeah, it's true, but I don't think that's not always the key. I mean, it's just a bonus if you got one from the academy. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, Gary Neville was United through and through, but you know, he in many ways he got the job because Roy Keane fell out with Fergie, and Fergie got rid of Roy Keane. Gary Neville wouldn't have been the captain if Roy Keane was still there, would it? He was almost like, you know, I would say that, like, no disrespect to Gary, but I think the other captains I mentioned got it on merit more. Yeah. They got it on merit because they thought they were the ball leaders. Gary was a leader in some ways, but I wouldn't speak of Gary as a captain in the same way as any of the other ones I mentioned.
No, of course not.
I think he was a United through and through. I think he was a great player, great servant for United. But I don't rate Gary Neville as a captain like I rated any of the other players as a captain.
All right. So I have one last question from me, because we've taken a lot of your time. Actually, I've got two questions, but what will add the other question? Going to the now United, the current squad of United, and you touch on the quality of this squad that we still need to improve in one or two players. But there's one player that has always been currently the centerpiece for Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes. And I'm sure most of our fans would like to know your point of view on this current squad, on Bruno Fernandes, and since we're talking about captain, on Harry Maguire.
I think Harry's a bit like the manager in terms of he gets a lot of flack if he has a bad game. But I think that considering the off the field troubles he had in the summer, which might be naive on his point of view, I think he's had a solid season. Maybe not spectacular.
Yeah,
I think he's had a solid season, and we know that he's maybe not the most agile. He's not as quick as some players, but I think he's a solid player, and I think he's becoming a good captain. However, I'm not opposed to having Bruno as captain. I think Bruno is a ball leader. He runs everywhere. He runs back. He can change games. I think that he's had such an explosive impact on United that if he has a couple of average games, he gets over the top criticism. No player, as good as Robson was. Robson played well most of the time. So did Keane, but they didn't always play well. On the same way that people have this glossy image of Ferguson's teams, sometimes saying it was always brilliant attacking football. It wasn't. No, there was some terrible times. There was some terrible football at United sometimes. There was people who used to question Fergie, used to say, has he lost it? Has he lost it in the mid-90s when he sold Mark Hughes and Tolkanchelskis and Paul, has he lost it? Then like when Arsenal won the league like 98, has he lost it again? And Arsenal won it. And then when he was rebuilding, people were saying, has Fergie lost it? With Ollie, when Ollie does a good run of games, the media make out we're lucky to be near the top, right? As soon as we have a bad result, it's all Ollie's fault. When we have a good result, it's luck, it's not good stuff. And it's the same with Harry Maguire and like Bruno, you get criticised more for the negative if they don't step up to the mark. I think Fernandes has been a revelation. And when he came to United, to settle into the squad and to change things so much and to have the goals, the assists and that, he's absolutely been amazing. And I think that he's one player we need to build a team round. And we want, I hope that he can keep hungry. And a lot of that is important now with the club giving Ollie the backing to build a club around it, to not like, there's no point, if we brought players in, we used to say this, if we brought another player in and he's getting like 100 grand a week more, then, it's just how it is. If you get a player who's coming in, if I was a player, all footballers are on good money now, right? If I was a player, I'd want to and we were bringing another superstar in, I'd want to prove to my manager that I could play with that player. I'd want to be in that team. I want us to come to the next level, So I think we've got the nucleus of a great team. I think that there's certain players who are going to move on because they're older in the career. Obviously like Mata and Matic. I'd like Mata to stay on in a coaching capacity, ideally. But I think with McTominay and with players like Scott McTominay, he's developing into such a great player, and it's a squad game now. So, in the ideal world, if Pogba stayed, it'd be great to be able to vary. And certain games you play McTominay and you play Bruno, and other games you mix it. That's how it is. When I was younger, you wanted Robson to play every game. You wanted Keane to play every game. It's not always like that nowadays. We need to build a squad. It's a squad game now, unfortunately. Or fortunately, it's just changed. Some summers when I was a kid, you didn't always sign a player. I mean, I remember when we first won the league in '93. I think who we signed in that summer. You have to Google this and look who it was. We signed somebody called Graham Tomlinson. Have you heard of him? He was a striker. We signed him from some lower division club. And everyone went, who's Graham Tomlinson? I didn't know who Graham Tomlinson was. Graham only played a handful of games as like the League Cup games. He was a striker. He stayed a few years, but he never made it. And at the time, I was thinking, well, he might become a striker. Like Ian Rush signed for Liverpool from Chester. No one had heard of him. Kevin Keegan signed from Scunthorpe. Some players used to sign. It never happened for Graham Tomlinson. Apparently, he became a really good DJ, but I don't know, right? But what I'm saying is the game's changed from 1993. That was 28 years, 27 years ago. But now you need to keep up with the other teams at the top table. So I think we've got a great squad. I think we've got some good, decent players now. We've got them making into a team. And look at the people who Ollie's had to get rid of. Like, you know, he's had to loan players out, got rid of players. And people are going on about Lukaku now, saying, "Oh yeah, he's the class." Look, if you watch United, I like Lukaku as a person, right? He had some good games, but Lukaku didn't want to beat United. We didn't want him there. No fans were sad to see Lukaku go, you know. No. And he's not doing it with you. At each club he's been at, whether it's West Brom, Everton, Chelsea, he always has a golden period at the start, and then he fails. Exactly. He might be doing well for Belgium. He might be doing well, but you know. Same as Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard, like Lukaku, he needed a new challenge, right? Who knows? Ollie might decide to bring Lingard back. He might still have a role. I don't know if he has or not. But let's be honest. Nobody was sad to see Jesse go on loan. Nobody was sad to see Lukaku go. It's just how it is, yeah? You want players who are committed to your team, who are doing the business. And I'm afraid you can't just keep players there because they're nice people. You need players who are hungry. And we need to build a team of hungry players, yeah? Unfortunately, Lukaku looks hungry some of the time, but not maybe on the pitch.
Okay. All right.
Pertanyaan khas itu, Pak?
Apa?
Pertanyaan khasnya Poros ke semua tamu.
Favorite player kan udah. Favorite captain kan udah tadi.
Oh, udah.
Udah. Okay. So this is our last question for you. As a Mancunian, how do you see Marcus Rashford? Can he still upgrading his level and become a legend in the club, or he's stuck now?
I think Marcus has got what it takes to stay at United and become a legend, right? I don't think it's fair, the criticism he gets, because when any person is human, any striker has a lean period, any striker has going back to let's remember, after George Best, United had some good players up front. We had Whiteside, we had Stapleton, we had Jimmy Greenough, we had Stuart Pearson, we had players there. And it wasn't till Brian McClare we had a player who scored 20 league goals. That might sound daft now, right? So people are quick to point the finger and say, "Oh, he's too busy with his school meals and all that." It's nonsense, right? It's easy to deflect something, right? Yeah, his wages are paid by United. He wants to concentrate on his football. I accept that, but you can't blame what he's doing. If he was off the pitch making TikTok videos like some players, right, all the time, I'd criticise that more. But what he has done off the pitch is admirable. I'm so proud of him, right? He's proud that a person who's come from working class roots, who struggled, his mum struggled to keep him going through school and all that. And now he hasn't forgot his roots. He's looking to give something back, right? And I think that's admirable. Yeah, if it was affecting his football, but I don't think that's fair. I think under previous managers, under Van Gaal and Jose and under Ollie, we need to find out what Marcus' best position is.
Yes, indeed.
In the past, we've stuck him on the wing or down the middle. I don't know what it is, but some players are versatile. It's nice sometimes if you can say, let him play back, let him play deeper, let him play more up front, let him play wide. But we need to find Marcus' best position and stick to it most of the time. Yeah, now and again, you might tactically have to move him to the wing. But I want to know, give Marcus a proper run at knowing what his position is, yeah? But saying that, like with Martial, if they're not performing, no player should stay in the team.
Exactly.
Just because he's done it in the past, yeah? If he's not performing, make him fight for his place, bring somebody else in, right? That's always been my motto. No matter who you are, you're not big enough to, you're not too big to be dropped, yeah? So I would say to Ollie, if, by all means, have confidence in your players. You know what to do in training, give them players. But to me, every player should be on the toes. They should know if they don't perform for 2 or 3 games, they might get put to the bench. Yeah, and
Yes.
so I think Marcus. I definitely keep Marcus, and I think Marcus can be a star at United for years to come.
As long as we have a deep squad, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that, Pete. Thank you for the conversation, for your information about your song, your chant, about the city, of course. I mean, Manchester is still red, and thank you for the chance that you have created for us. That's for me.
You've got to make sure now, do an appeal and say, let's bring Pete over to Indonesia.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Pete reminded me that he also in the beginning of this show that we did not record at the beginning of the show. Pete was supposed to come to Indonesia back in 2016 and then again 2017. Was that? Am I right, Pete? And so
there was 3 different times. So it was around 2016, 17, 18. I was due to come. Yeah.
Right. So now what we're asking you is, what Pete is asking also, is that let's start a movement and hashtag bring Pete to Indonesia so that we can go and gather somehow with the health protocol still intact, singing together in one massive place with Pete Boyle. Wouldn't that be a beauty?
You could bring me. You could bring me. We might be able to bring an ex-player, and I could interview him.
Yes,
watch a game. So look, it's up to you people. You know the other people involved.
We will work on that.
I'd love to come over. It'd be a dream to come over there and to chant with everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'll have to go now because I've got to go. And my mum's been in hospital for a week. So
okay.
I'm going to go and see my mum. Okay.
Rapid,
thank you very much.
Rapid help.
Have a good day.
You take care, yeah? Cheers.
Thank
we'll
you,
keep in touch.
Bye.
Bye.
Jadi itu tadi Bapak Pete Boyle, legenda dari...
Masih ada.
Masih ada. Tadi itu Bapak Pete Boyle, legenda dari Manchester United sebagai seorang chanter. Dia jago nge-chant, tapi ya kayaknya kalau teknologi agak gaptek.
Ya, dia jago nge-chant, tapi teknologi dia gaptek gitu loh. Itu aja. Udah jam 6.
Semoga kalian juga menikmati interview kita tadi itu.
Ya.
Dia juga nyanyi buat kalian.
Nyanyi, terus beberapa bocoran lagu yang ternyata tidak pernah dipublish ya.
Dan
gitu.
baru
dinyanyikan langsung baru pertama kali di YouTube gitu ya. Itu aja. Dan poin-poin menarik dari dia terhadap manajer United gitu kan, terus Rashford gitu. Gue sekali ini tidak mau menanyakan apakah Pogba sama Bruno bisa bermain sama, karena itu udah kemarin gue tanya di Andy Mitten gitu loh. Gue nggak mau ada repetisi gitu. So itu aja, udah azan maghrib. Thank you very much. Terima kasih Pak Prod untuk subtitlenya ya.
Ya, terima kasih banyak Pak Produser. Anda memang terbaik untuk subtitle. We love you so much Pak Produser.
Bye.